So, good morning, everyone. My name is Leandro Lozano. I am a regulatory affairs senior consultant in Brazil, and I will present to you the drug regulatory environment in Brazil. Well, let's start giving you some data about Brazil, some Brazilian numbers. Okay, we are talking about the fifth biggest country in the world in terms of territory. A population estimated in 214 amount about 215 million people, according to the Brazilian Institute of Geographic and Statistics. This number reflects the population in 2021, the estimative of population in 2021. The nominal GDP in 2021 was $1,045 billion, which puts the GDP among the 12th in the 12th position in the world rank, and the corrected GDP in 3,437.61 billion US dollars, which puts Brazil among the 8 biggest economies in the world. The Brazilian healthcare system is a complete public system, such in UK, for example, okay, in which each Brazilian government has its responsibilities. We make here a tripartite kind of management of the healthcare system. The federal government, represented by the Ministry of Health, National Health Supplementary Agency, which controls and regulates the supplementary healthcare system, the private sector, for example, and the National Health Surveillance Agency. They are considered as accessory agencies to the Ministry of Health, and they are independent from the Ministry of Health, by the way. Okay, and those two agencies supports the healthcare system, one in terms of the private sector and another in terms of the health surveillance, which includes drug products, foods, and etc., which we will mention in a few moments. So the federal government has the role to control the politicians and financing of the healthcare system, and some high complexity actions, such as the central acquisition of some medicines and other supplies, collection and processing of information in the healthcare system, and the health surveillance coordination. The state government had the work in financing the system organization, the regional organization. Okay, each state is responsible for its territory and its municipalities, for example, and they work with the health surveillance is strategic in its area, and they have a role in some high complexity services such as some tertiary attention hospitals, for example. Okay, and the municipality takes over the other roles, which are the local coordination of the healthcare system inside its territory. They make the delivery of the strategic and the services to the population, provision a list of a municipal list of medicines, and execute all the politicians in health surveillance from the Minister of Health, from the Secretary, the State Secretary, and from the Municipal Secretary. Okay, they are parts in a tripartite system So federal, state, and municipal government, they make the tripartite management committee, and state, in a regional point of view, state and municipal government are part of the bipartite management committee, and in some regions we have like municipal consortium, which they exchange defines politicians in a regional way inside those states. In the next slide, we can see some data about the Brazilian pharma market. Okay, we can see the evolution of this pharma market among the years from 2020, 2018 until 2021. So we can see there is a growth each year. The growth is highest than 10%, which puts the pharma market in a very good position inside the country because the economy, the complete economy, the Brazilian economy does not grow in a two-digits way, such as the pharma market, as we can see here. And in each bar we can see in light blue the numbers from the non-retail market, which means hospital sales, and dark blue we can see the retail market. Okay, here on the non-retail market we have a blend of private and public healthcare system, but since the public healthcare system is considered universal in Brazil, you can imagine that the highest payer in Brazil is the public sector. Okay. Another curiosity of those numbers, we have a expressive growth from 2020 to 2021, and this is marked in green because it is the double of the median growth from previous years. Okay, and we have here the impact of the COVID-19 vaccines in special. And we can see this impact when we see the numbers of the net growth of the non-retail market in special, because vaccines in Brazil were distributed only by the public healthcare system. So this growth of 38.4% in the non-retail market is impacted by the vaccines. Let's say it's contaminated by the vaccine. So we do not expect to repeat this number of 23.7% or something like that from 2021 to when you compare 2021 to 2022, which we can see here. A year to date, in March, those numbers are from March. Okay, year to date 2021 and year to date 2022, when we compare the data, we see a growth of 8.5% in non-retail market and 12.5% in the complete market, complete pharmaceutical markets in Brazil. So confirming this data. All this data was acquired from IQVIA reports. Here we have the same numbers, but excluding the impact of COVID vaccines on non-retail market. And we can see a growth, expressive growth, higher than the other years, but inside the same, let's say, in the same range that we have saw among those years. And we can see that excluding COVID-19 vaccine, we have the very similar numbers in a year-to-date evaluation, with a decrease on non-retail market from 2021 to 2022. These are impacts of other activities such as suspension of some kind of surgeries, non-elective elective surgeries, and all other services that were suspended to give the priority, the necessary priority to the COVID-19 emergency in the country. So, moving forward, when we put the Brazilian pharmaceutical marketing in the Mundial ranking, we can see that in 2013, Brazil was the market number 8 in all around the world in terms of sales. The sales in US dollars. Okay. In 2018, we moved from the 8th position to the 7th position. And according to IQVIA numbers, we would be in 2023 the 5th biggest pharmaceutical market. And as you can see, there is a relative growth in comparison with the US market. So we have represented 5%, then 6%, then 7% of the American pharmaceutical market, which is a very good position to the country in terms of relevance in the world. So, Anvisa is a federal agency, was one of the first agencies created in Brazil. The model was inspired in the European agency and on the American and on the European model of regulatory agency, which is an agency with political and administrative independence from the health, in the case of Anvisa, from the Ministry of Health. Its board of directors has a term of mandate. This mandate ends in different periods, so we never have expressive change of directors inside the same year. Okay, they are spread among the years. We have the figure of recommendation, so the same director may have 2 terms in front of the agency. Okay, it's possible to have. They are indicated by the president of the Brazilian president, but they cannot be taken from Anvisa unless they do not comply with the contract that they have with the Ministry of Health. So the agency was created in 1999. It regulates medicinal products, which includes drug substance, drug products, biological products, herbal medicines, homeopathic medicines, and some other kind of stuffs. Regulates also medical devices, cosmetics, tobacco products, sanitizing products, custom and borders regarding the products regulated by the agency. Anvisa became an ICNG member in 2018, okay, when they became a regulatory member. And Anvisa, it's nowadays part of the management committee since 2021 and is claiming to continuing of this management committee, which is very good to the country. Anvisa is also a PIX member since 2020. When they have harmonized the GMP regulations to the PIX regulation. So, some requirements from a new drug product importer to be established in Brazil, and some of them I want to highlight to you as a must do in the country and must comply to its bureaucracy. First of all, only Brazilian companies can be market authorization holders in front of Anvisa. The only exception of this point is for drug substance, and we will treat about those drug substance in a few moments from now. But have in mind, no no company from abroad can be a market authorization holder in Brazil. It must be a Brazilian company. So you can have your own affiliate, or you can have a local partner to be this market authorization holder. You can have a hosting company, for example, but you cannot be a market authorization holder from abroad in Brazil. Okay, as you can do it, for example, in Argentina. So, and to be a drug product importer, what you must have? First of all, you must have a local warehouse that allows you to handle your product in the final storage conditions. For example, if you have products in ambient condition and in a refrigerated conditions, your warehouse must have equipments and procedures that allows to segregate what is refrigerated from what is ambient and put everybody in its conditions. Oh, okay, but I will contract a logistics center such as DHL, for example, or TNT, or any other huge logistics center. They will handle my stuffs, and I must have this warehouse. Yes, you can only be contractor to have a third part contractor, a service provider, if you can do the service. This importer must have a QA system with all specific SOPs that support all operations, administrative as well. It must have a quality control laboratory able to perform the complete quality control analysis that are claimed on the dossier sent to Anvisa. So, yes, if you are registering a drug product in Brazil, you will need to have a very good laboratory that can comply with the complete analysis. There are some exceptions. For example, what Anvisa calls a special analysis, the analysis that has a lot of some specific equipments or technology used that are not spread in the country, are not usual in laboratories, or the equipment it's very cost have a high cost. Okay, and microbiological analysis, you can hire a third part to perform your microbiological analysis. But we have two special exceptions for this rule. Both rare disease drugs, which are called all around the world as orphan drugs, and Brazil does not apply this denomination to this kind of the product. We call here rare disease drugs, with transport chain qualified, with the supply chain from the finished product until the product in the warehouse in Brazil is completely qualified. So we have to comply with Anvisa guidance for qualification in this way. Okay, and this is a complete qualification from design to performance. Okay, and the same applies to biological products, but them both must have a transport chain qualified. Okay, if do not have this transport chain qualified, you will need to repeat the complete analysis in Brazil. Okay, you must be able to have to make this complete analysis in Brazil. There are some specific rules which states when you must do a complete, when you may do a partial. But anyway, you must have the capabilities to perform this complete analysis. You must hold a local sanitary license, which is most of case annually renewed. You must hold a federal working authorization, which we call locally as AFE. This document is named as AFE. This document is valid through life, okay, but it must have the activities disclaimed. It must have disclaimed all activities that you will perform here. So if you are only an importer, you must have a warehousing, importing, expediting, etc. Good warehousing distribution practice adherence. Okay, this adherence is required, but not the certification. This certification is a plus here, which the market is starting to request as well. And you must have, last but not least, you must have pharmacovigilance capabilities and a local qualified person. In terms of registration, we can divide the drug world in two categories, in two main categories. First, the synthetic drug products, and second, the biological drug and the biological products. Okay. Inside the synthetic drug products, we have a new drug, such as the NDA in US, which here we usually call as a radical innovation. The radical innovation means that you hold the innovation from the main synthesis until the product, the final product. You may have so-called incremental innovation, which are new dosage forms, strengths, posologies, indication for an existing molecule. And you have the generics and brand generic. The brand generic is so-called in Brazil as a similar drug product. Okay, so moving to the biological products, we will have three pathways of development and registration. The first one is a new drug pathway. It's the same as an NDA here for the synthetics. The second one is the individual development pathway. This is a very interesting kind of development that was not used. The companies that tried to use it have not succeeded in demonstrating the safety and efficacy, but it would be a kind of biosimilar which is not a biosimilar. So it's a biosimilar which has failed in the biocomparability, in the comparability studies exercise, and anyway, it has demonstrated the good results in terms of safety and efficacy, and the company may claim to be registered despite the fact that it's not a biosimilar. Okay, and the competition development pathway, which is the classic biosimilar drugs that are registered here as the same, almost the same way that they are registered in other countries. And we will treat in deep in a few moments. So we're starting with the good manufacturing practices. First of all, the actual guidelines were harmonized with the PICS guidelines back in 2019. The Brazilian certification and visa certification is valid for 2 years. We know that the common expire date for some certification all around the world are 3 years, but Brazil considered 2 years. Okay, the certification is issued by Anvisa by manufacturing line. For example, you will have certification for liquids, non-steriles, liquids steriles, semi-solids and solids, and etc., divided by steriles and non-steriles. Okay, That's what Anvisa calls byline. All involved in manufacturing, all companies and players and stakeholders involved on the manufacturing chain must be certified. For example, if you start the product manufacturing in one site and finish in another site, and the filling if it's made in a third site, and the secondary pack in a fourth site, you will must have 4 certifications from Anvisa. Okay, it will cover API manufacturer, both case biological products and synthetic drugs, intermediates, primary and secondary packing sites. In terms of API registration, now talking about the main request, starting with the API registration, which is called locally as CADIFA. Okay, the CADIFA is a authorization letter issued by Anvisa to the holder, and it's a very similar, just to make your life a little bit easier to understand it. It's very similar to a DKM certification. Okay, it's valid only for synthetic drug substances. The authorization holder may be the API manufacturer or the local company. Okay, but we always have a but. Okay, and we have to present to Anvisa the complete drug master file submitted in a CTD format. It includes not only the open part, but also the closed part of the DMF. The dossier is accepted in English, so not only in English, the Anvisa accepts the dossiers in English and Spanish. Okay, so if you have the documents in those two idioms, you can send straight to Anvisa, there is no problem. The GMP certification runs in parallel to the CODIFA request. Okay, it's necessary to send a request, you must send only to send the CODIFA dossier, you must send only the GMP request. To have the CODIFA, the letter of authorization, you must have the GMP certification. Peculiarities. The first one is a good peculiarity. The closed part can be sent straight to Anvisa from the API manufacturer. Second peculiarity. Impurities must be well known, established according to ICH guidance. Okay, and please, a special attention to ACH M7 guidance about impurities. In terms of new drug application, okay, you have the CARIFA, you have the GMP for your drug substance, very good, you are starting well, your relation with Anvisa. Let's go through the new drug application. And I'm talking about exactly the radical innovation. So, you must have Anvisa GMP certification. It's mandatory. Oh, I can replace it. Okay, I know that Anvisa is a PICS member, so my country is a PICS member. So I will have kind of automatic certification from Anvisa? No. My life will be easier than the other manufacturing site, which is located in a non-PICS country. Not at all. Okay, we expect yes, but not at all. Anvisa will accept a certification from US, for example. Oh, I have the FDA certification, so that's wonderful. I can rest a little with this and do nothing about it. No, you don't. Okay. You don't. You will have the visa certification, the complete certification, and visa, unless during the period of the pandemics, Visa has suspended the visits to making local inspections and started to evaluate inspection reports from PICS countries. Okay, and they have stopped this procedure right now, and they are starting to go through the companies to verify the GMP requirements from Brazil. So the certification is mandatory, and the local inspection is expected to be held by Anvisa. There is a possibility to have a remote inspection, yes, but Anvisa does not like it because they do not have the same impression and view from the site as they have when we are talking about local inspection. Okay, so Anvisa certification is mandatory. A local inspection is uh, expected. The second point, you must send to Anvisa the complete CTD format. Yes, you can send it, and it's very good. You have another option as well, to send in Anvisa format, which is a little bit different than the CTD format in terms, especially in terms of document organization. Okay, Anvisa right now is working with the paper CTD format sent in a PDF format. So is the old format the ICH was working previous than the electronic CTD. This is a PDF format with hyperlinks, and etc. Okay. The MEM2, the module 2 must be presented in Portuguese, must be translated into Portuguese. If you have some issues, you can present it in English as an original, as a source document, and in Portuguese. There is no problem, but you must present this translation to Portuguese. Second, another point is the clinical trials. You must present phase 1 to 3 trials for a new drug application. And we have some peculiarities on M3. First of all, stability studies must be conducted according to Zone 4B conditions. And I'm displaying here the Zone 4B conditions for ambient. Okay, because for refrigerated conditions, it doesn't change from the Zone 2 and Zone 3. You can present the same documents. You must present a photostability according to the ICH guidance. Okay, the QC method must be validated according to the local regulation, and your local warehouse that I mentioned previously must also have those methods locally validated and completely validated. You must have also a good assessment of the degradation profile, okay, and you must present a process validation report according to the local guidances. For incremental innovation, incremental innovation only happens on the synthetic drug substances. The Anvisa GMP certification goes the same way as the new drug application. These GMP certification are the same way for all drug products. Okay, it doesn't matter if they are biological or synthetics, NDAs or innovation, incremental innovation or similars and genetics and etc. Visa requires the complete CTD format, as mentioned before. It can be sent in English or Spanish. And the GMP certification is required for API and finished product, such as for the new drug application. All the peculiarities on M2 and M3 mentioned for new drug applications are valid for incremental innovation as well, and for any kind of synthetic drug products. Biological product. Anvisa certifies the API and finished product to facilities. Complete format, CTD format or Anvisa format as mentioned before. M2 must be in Portuguese. They accept dossier in English and Spanish. And the GMP certification for the API and finished product is mandatory. On the next slide, we have some peculiarities about the biosimilar drugs. Once again, Anvisa requires the GMP certification for the API and finished product, complete CTD format, or in Anvisa format, and two must be in Portuguese. About M3 is the same things about that we mentioned on the biological drug product. The complete comparison exercise must be sent to Anvisa, including chemical, the CMC part, and the clinical data as well. A reference drug, and here is one of the most important points on biosimilar drug products, biosimilar products in Brazil. The reference drug must be the same available in Brazilian market. Okay, so my country receives a reference drug registered and manufactured in the US by the company X. Brazil has registered the same drug from the same laboratory, the same reference drug from the same laboratory, but it was manufactured not in US but in Germany. Well, and the US facility was even not inspected for GMP and is not authorized in the dossier by Anvisa. My friend, you will have a serious problem in this comparison exercise. Okay, and the chance of rejection is very high from this point of view. Talking a little bit about timelines. So you have API GMP, which is granted in about 120 to 180 days, and the cost is about 14,000 US dollars. The CADIFA, which is the certificate, the authorization letter from Anvisa, takes to 60 to a year. Okay, and there is no fee at the moment. Okay, the fee of GMP inspection doesn't change if we are talking about API, and if we are talking about drug product, and if we are talking about biological product, it doesn't change in terms of money. The inspection, the GMP certification, it will take about 6 months to 9 months. Okay, and the value is the same, the fee is the same. An NDA will take from a year to 800 days to be granted. It will depend a lot on the complexity, the drug complexity, the kind of evidence that is given to the agency, the indications, and etc. Okay. Incremental innovation, it will take 740 to 740 to 950 days to be granted. The cost is about 7,000 US dollars. The new drug application is $31 US. Generics and brand generics about 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years, 2 years and a half. Okay, and the fee, as you can see, is a little bit lower. And the biologic product is the faster one. It will take from 9 months to a year and a half, something like that. A year and 3 months. Okay, and the costs are $31,000 US for a new product and $8,000 US for biosimilar products. Anvisa has a policy of progressive fees depending on the size of the company, and I am presenting the fee cost for large companies. If you have 5 categories of companies in Brazil, depending on the gross income, yearly gross income, and other legal aspects, which I won't go deeper right now. But anyway, it will, just you to know, it will vary depending on the category of the company at Ministry of Economics. Okay, it does not depend on Anvisa, it depends on the economics, the Ministry of Economics. Okay, so moving forward, in a kind of flow chart, you have this. You have first the Gmp certification. So we start with Anvisa evaluation of the paperwork sent. The paperwork means site master file and a form with complete information about the file, the sites, about what they do, what they have in terms of equipments that are shared with another kind of products, another kind of specialties, what they do, and etc. Okay. Anvisa also makes the inspection. They may issue you a deficiency letter. They may issue you a deficiency letter on the paperwork, the first evaluation, or on the inspection. Usually, if you have a very good gap analysis, previous gap analysis, you will not have some big issues with this first evaluation. Usually, you have to answer some questions from the inspectors, yes, but from my experience, you will have the opportunity to answer these questions personally to the inspector during the inspection and prevent somehow a deficiency letter. Okay, but if you receive it, the market authorization responds this letter, and Anvisa, if they are happy with the response, will give you the Gmp certification. Okay, in terms of drug master file submission, that is called in Brazil as DFA. Okay, that means API dossier, the same as a drug master file. You submit it, Anvisa make its evaluation, send you a query if necessary or not about the CMC, the special, the manufacturer, the market authorization holder, in this case the authorization holder responds the queries, and the letter of authorization is issued to the requester. Okay, here we have drug and biological products flowchart, in which we have the same one as before for the GMP certification. We have the pre-submission, the figure of the pre-submission meeting, which can be held, which is a must for rare disease products. And for other categories, it's nice to have, in special if we have some abbreviated development in terms of clinical trials, if you have a very small controlled trial and those kind of steps, I really recommend to have this pre-submission meeting. So moving forward, we submit the CDD, Anvisa makes its evaluation, makes a deficiency letter in all those areas that will cover the complete CTD. Okay, the market authorization holder will respond it, and please attention, you may have one different deficient letter from each of those areas in Anvisa. When you respond them all satisfactorily, you will have the market authorization issuing by Anvisa. It means it will be published on the official gazette. So, let's move forward to the content and attention points on each presentation. In terms of GMP, first of all, the company must be certified by the local authority. If you are not certified by your own authority, please do not spend your time requesting a GMP certification from Anvisa. Okay? It must be presented the complete site master file and fills all the local information about the site. The certification will be issued by line, as I have mentioned before. All involved sites must be certified, and Anvisa does not certify it. This is a very important point. Anvisa does not certify quality control and stability only sites. So if you have one only site that is handling the complete manufacturing and only the quality control activities and or stability activities are conducted in a different site, you must have only one certification for your company. In terms of API notification, the authorization holder, as I have mentioned before, may be the API manufacturer, the international market authorization holder, or the local market authorization holder. Okay, it's up to you. It's your negotiation with the suppliers and your representative in Brazil. Authorization holder must present the complete drug master file, include the close part. In terms of denomination, GMP means TIFA. Authorization letter means CADIFA. It's possible to the API manufacturer to send the close part straight to Anvisa in Anvisa's electronic system, which is secure. Okay. You must have the GMP request in place to submit the API notification, and you must have the GMP certification granted by Anvisa to have the letter of authorization from Anvisa. In terms of CTD format, M1 are the local and administrative information, so GMP request in place, local documents and forms, market authorization holder documents, labeling material, which is very important, API information, which means CADIFA and GMP, PSC and TSC information are required as well. M2, must be presented in Portuguese. Okay, you can present in English along with the Portuguese. M3, attention points. Lab method validation. Lab transfer must be completed, a complete validation to the imported. Must have the validation completed when you submit the dossier. Okay. Stability studies. Ambient conditions in zone 4B, which means 30 degrees and 75% of humidity relative. Manufacturing process must present a validation of a summary of the validation report. Impurity evaluations must be conducted according to ICH M7. For biological drugs, biosimilar drugs, special attention to the comparison exercise, okay, especially regarding the reference drug. And for the preclinical information, and here there is no special concern. You can adopt and you must adopt the ICH regulation and follow it. Okay. In terms of M5, um, last but not least, the M5 for the new drug applications and biological product in a new biological product, you must present phase 1 to 3, like any other country. For generic and brand generic drugs, you must present a bioequivalence study. An attention point here. The bioequivalence study must be conducted in a certified clinical, statistical, and chemical site by Anvisa. Okay, Anvisa must certify the site for biological or bioequivalence studies for genetics and brain genetics. For biosimilar products, applicable, you must present here the applicable clinical studies reports. In general lines, the manufacturers presents here the phase 1, phase 3 trials at least. Bioequivalence studies, and this only for generic drugs, must be conducted in a certified site by Anvisa. The reference drug must be available in Brazilian market. It must be acquired in the Brazilian market, and especially. And please do not present the clinical study report in an ICH format. Attention to the date, you must present a lot of documents that are a little bit different from the CSR format. Okay, and the details are listed below. Pharmaceutical equivalence, which is a request for generics and brand generics registration. The physical-chemical comparison must be conducted in a certified site from Anvisa, and all certified sites for pharmaceutical equivalence are located in Brazil. Life cycle management. Synthetics. Look into synthetics. The variations are classified in major and minor and supplementary according to the risk. Okay. Supplementary information. The supplementary information are all variations that are not considered as a regulatory variation. Major change required to be approved by Anvisa prior to its implementation, affect critical manufacturing aspects or quality aspects, okay, may affect the delivery system performance on the product, and it may imply as well in a new bioequivalence study. Minor changes has limited impact on quality and low risk for the product performance. The documents can be presented individually at the implementation or can be presented only at the annual report. Okay, and all minor changes are considered as immediate implementation. Examples of variations that may impact bioequivalence, that may result in a bioequivalence study. Major change of excipients. Whoa, Andrew, but what are the major changes of excipients? Please consider the SUPAC guidelines, okay, to determine what are the major changes or minor changes in terms of excipients. You may use the SUPAC information guidance, but Anvisa has their own definition, and the guidance are very well defined. I can say here that are all excipient changes that may affect the quality and performance of the delivery system, the drug delivery system. Major inclusion or change of manufacturing place, manufacturing site. In special of critical steps for the drug product obtaining. Major change of manufacturing process in the same way of the manufacturing sites. And major inclusion of batch size, which means an inclusion of more than 10-fold on the batch side. Biological drugs. The regulation is much more harmonized to the ICH in terms of life cycle management. It's newer than the local legislation of synthetic drugs. Okay, the variations are classified in major, moderate, and minor, and without impact. And this impact is calculated according to the risk. Major and moderate require to be approved prior to the implementation. The minor may be implemented immediately and communicated on the annual report to Anvisa. And here is the major concern that we may have with the life cycle management. For new drug products, the time to approval of a major change it's among 50 and 510 days to 750 days. For generics and brain generics, the timeline is a little bit higher. We have 600 to 860 days. For biological products, it's much smaller. I know that's not satisfactory, but it's much smaller than the other categories. It's on the range from 240 to 390 days. And here we have a complete list of the regulation for us for the API. I will not read the numbers. You have it on the material. Okay, for good manufacturing practices. Please consider the each instruction norm, that is the IN, as the annex of the PICS guidance. Okay, NDA and generics and brand generics. Here are listed the regulations in force for each peculiarity. Uh, Generics, continuing with the generics and brand generics, all the bioequivalence guidances that are in force for biological drugs. You have registration, lifecycle management, stability, okay, and all other complementaries for the NDA, leaflet, and etc. And now, please consider it open to questions and feel free to ask me whatever you want about the content presented here. So, thank you very much for your attention, and it was a pleasure to have this opportunity to present Brazil to you. And if you reach to this point, consider it welcome to Brazil. Thank you very much.